Well, up first here on Information Radio, the oldest house in Winnipeg is now a designated National Historic Site. The home once belonged to a prominent Red River Scottish Métis family and is now known as Seven Oaks House Museum, located at 50 Mac Street. So Tracey Turner is the curator and manager of Seven Oaks House. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So how does it feel for you to have the museum designated as a National Historic Site?
It's an incredible honor. It's something that's been in the works for a little while. It just really allows us to shed the light on this really important heritage treasure that we have here in the city of Winnipeg and for the province of Manitoba.
Tell us a little bit about the story of the house and what makes it so historic.
It well, first of all, I guess the claim is it's the oldest house in Winnipeg. It may be one of the oldest buildings in Manitoba.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was established. We know for sure by 1831. It could have been actually earlier. We know that the Inkster family was well established by around 1824, and they were settled in the region and farming in the Red River settlement. So it really illustrates, the depth of history and sheds a light sort of on the growth of the Red River settlement and of course the story of some prominent people that lived here. We know John Inkster. The story of John Inkster is told often, but we don't often hear a lot about Mary. And she was Mary Sinclair. She actually was. Her mother was baptized Margaret Sinclair. Her mother was Métis and had Inuit ancestry, and her father was an important trader for the Hudson's Bay Company. So when we start to learn about the heritage of the family that lived there, we start to really see the story of early Canada, pre-Confederation, and understand sort of the growth of the Red River settlement. So there's a lot of history there to learn.
And when you think of the history of a lot of these national historic sites, often they're these big opulent houses. I'm thinking like the Dalnavert, for example, right? But this one actually, it's kind of it's a more of a I say modest kind of working class home too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good one to contrast with Down Yeah, it's interesting in the sense that the first home that they lived in was what we call a Red River frame home. So basically a log construction. And when you come on the site, you'll see the original home they lived in. Red River frame is stacked logs that have been constructed, and we know that John Inkster built that as their first home for the family. Later, a portion of that home was cut off and moved to the other side of the new home, which was constructed in 1851. And at the time, the new home, which is what we call sort of Georgian-style architecture, it would have been considered a Red River sort of mansion for the Red River settlement. It's quite large, but it doesn't have that kind of opulence. It definitely is, um, more austere. But at the same time, they were a fairly wealthy family.
Mm. So I actually understand you kind of knew that this designation was coming since 2022, actually, but now you can actually kind of be more public with it. How does it feel to actually be able to announce it now? Especially, I imagine it must have been a lot of work to get to this point.
It was a lot of work for the board and, of course, the previous curator. I think they put a lot of the research in. Of course, these processes always take time, right? And so we've been sitting on this exciting news for quite some time, and we're really thrilled to be able to share it. I think it really allows us to, uh, bring attention to this beautiful house and the stories that are in it. So it's exciting. It's really exciting. And unfortunately, like right now, it's the season when we're closed, so we can't wait till we open back up in the spring and to share the site with more visitors.
What changes now for the site now that it is a National Historic Site? Is it a funding
Right.
difference, or what does that mean now?
Uh, well, I think it's a few pieces, right? Number one, we'll have higher profile, right? To be a National Historic Site is it's a very important designation for a heritage site. It's not easy to get. So, it means we're of value. It means we have something to really treasure, but it also means we have something to really take care of. With that responsibility, often does can come funding. Hopefully, we will, be able to work this new designation into accessing new funds for restoration. Older homes, obviously, they need a lot of upkeep, just like everyone's house, right? But houses this old need a lot of conservative effort to be maintained and to keep the finishes up, etc. So it'll help us, hopefully access funding for restoration. Other pieces of that, of course, are just allowing us to develop more programming and hopefully attract other stakeholders and interests for all kinds of opportunities. So it's sort of a multi-level thing, but it comes with it's an exciting opportunity, and it also comes with a lot of responsibility.
And before I let you go here, just yourself personally, what is it that you love the most about the home? Why is it something that you've decided to dedicate so much time to?
Right. Well, my career has been really focused on looking after historic homes and heritage properties. It's definitely of interest to me because I think homes are like they connect us with what's important about life. Really, it's about connections. It's about family. When you come into the home, you understand. This is a home that raised 11 children. This is a home that saw the birth of the first settlements in Manitoba. This is a home that saw Confederation, and this is a home that Duff Roblin sought to establish as a museum in 1958. So it's like this this house tells the story of Manitoba and the story of the connections between immigrant families from the Orkney Islands to Cree and Métis families that are here. So it's the story is so broad, but it's such an important story for Manitobans to learn and for Canadians to have access to learn about.
Mm. Well, Tracy, thanks so much for your time and all the best.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Tracy Turner is the curator and manager of Seven Oaks House. Feels like a bit of a different Friday than normal because maybe you're excited it's the end of the week. There's probably a little bit of nervous energy in the air as well because, of course, tonight is game one of the World Series and the Jays are facing off against the Dodgers. And we're going to talk about that right now because I think a lot of Canadians right across the country are feeling a little bit on edge. What is this going to look like? So tonight they play host defending champion Los Angeles Dodgers. And for more on this best of seven series, we've reached freelance sports reporter Ed Klajman. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Cory.
So, there's a good reason to feel nervous if you're a Jan going into this because, Blue Jays manager John Schneider said his team was ready to face, quote, what is on paper the best team in baseball, unquote. So how do the Jays and Dodgers match up?
Yeah, well, it's a tough matchup for Toronto. John Schneider wasn't lying when he said that. This Dodger franchise, known as the Death Star team in Major League Baseball, 13 straight times in the playoffs, 12 as champions of the National League West, looking to be the first team in 25 years to repeat as World Series champions, looking for their third title in 6 years. They've got the greatest player probably ever to play the game in Shohei Ohtani, a starting pitching staff that is historically dominant in the postseason right now. So tough matchup. But if anyone can give the Dodgers a problem, it's the Toronto Blue Jays. They're this throwback team. They don't strike out a lot. They play great defense. They've got some surprise stories on their roster, including this starting pitcher tonight, this rookie that's come out of nowhere to be this hero. I think the Jays have a very tough matchup, but I think the Dodgers have their toughest matchup if they're going to repeat as champions. So this is going to be really interesting. I think there are some scenarios where I can see, sure, the Dodgers roll over the Blue Jays like they have everyone else. I certainly don't see any scenarios where the Blue Jays roll over the Dodgers, but I do see scenarios where in kind of a tough, deep series, the Blue Jays pull off the upset.
So then what are the biggest challenges that the Jays will face with the Dodgers? If we kind of stick with the Star Wars analogy, we kind of got the Rebels versus, versus the Death Star. I'm guessing Shohei Ohtani would probably be considered Darth Vader.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, you want to talk about a baseball Darth Vader? Ask them the Milwaukee Brewers about this. While everyone here was paying attention to the Blue Jays, the Dodgers were dusting off the team with the best record in the regular season, Milwaukee, in 4 straight games. And in that last game, Otani had what I think you can't argue against is the greatest baseball game anyone has ever had. 3 home runs, including the longest of the postseason by anyone. And he was pitching 6 shutout innings with 10 strikeouts. This is like Connor McDavid going out and having a hat trick in the first 2 periods for the Oilers and then going and shutting out the opposition because he's playing in net in the third period. We've never seen anything like this from anyone before. And that's what the Blue Jays have to deal with Shohei Otani. And yet, following on him, 1 through 9, you've got a number of Hall of Famers in that lineup who can hit home runs and steal bases. And then I mentioned that starting pitching staff. We haven't seen anything like this in a generation. They deservedly are the Death Star team.
And you pretty much need the force to pull something off like that if you're Shohei Ohtani. So what are the Jays' biggest strengths that could pose a threat to the Dodgers, though?
So this is why I think they have a chance. For the Dodgers, they have one weakness. It's their relief pitching. And they've kind of managed to not have that be an issue because their starters have been so good. Toronto, they are a contact team. They don't strike out a lot, and they can drive pitchers crazy by having these long at bats. So I can see one of these unheralded players like Nathan Lucas going up there, getting to a 3-2 count against the starting pitcher tonight, Blake Snell, fouling off 3 or 4 pitchers. And the next thing you know, Snell's got to use 10 pitches to get 1 out. So no matter how good he is, he can't pitch forever. And just by having those long counts, batter after batter, you can get him out of the game maybe in the 5th or 6th inning rather than the 8th inning. And you expose that bullpen. And that's where Toronto can do some damage because, they're on a tear themselves. Vladimir Guerrero is actually almost having Otani-like numbers in the postseason. 6 home runs, 19 runs batted in. He's only had 3 strikeouts and 51 at-bats. He's doing things that are historically special. If he can keep this thing going, and I think I can, again, paint some scenarios where the Blue Jays can do some damage, get to that Dodger bullpen, and the Dodgers, for the first time in the postseason, will have to face some adversity. That's another factor. They've just been cruising along. The Blue Jays are really battle-hardened. When you're trailing 3-1 in the 7th inning and need a 3-run a home run to pull it off in the 7th game, you're coming in with some serious confidence and momentum. So you've got that on your side as well.
And you can't help but also, look at this against the backdrop of the, political tensions between Canada and the U.S. I mean, just this morning, Donald Trump said he's dropping trade talks with Canada because of the commercial that Ontario put out. So, the Jays aim to win the championship of America's pastime. So what do you think the return of the World Series to Canada means for people here, whether it's super fans or newer converts?
Yeah, there's no doubt we're having a cultural moment across the country with this. I'm old enough to remember 92, 93. It reminds me a lot of that. More recently, it reminds me of what the Raptors did in 2019 when the entire country got around Canada's one NBA team. Angus Reid Institute did some polling last week that I found interesting. Normally, you've got about 1 in 5 Canadians who follow baseball. Right now, 70% of the population says they're either watching this or following it closely. And so there's no doubt that there's a big element of rallying around the flag to that, where you're looking at, sure, football is actually the big sport in the U.S. right now, but baseball has got such history, and the Dodgers are this quintessential American franchise, and you've got the one Canadian franchise against them. But I would also add a few caveats. This is not like it's Canada versus the U.S. that we'll see in the World Baseball Classic next year. This is franchises with players from all over the place. And in fact, there's only one player on either team who's going to represent Canada at the next World Baseball Classic, and that's Freddie Freeman of the Dodgers, right? So I could say that that's a factor there. And then, look, I think using Winnipeg as an example, it's overwhelmingly you've got Blue Jay fans there, but I think there's a sprinkling of Minnesota Twins fans from the geographic proximity. Very small in number, I know, but they exist, and there's pockets of those across the country as well, particularly in Montreal, where they still are bitter about the Blue Jays voting to contract the Expos. So there are some caveats I'll put around it, but yes, overall, this is a big, big moment. And as you mentioned with the news today, made it even bigger.
Well, Ed, thanks so much, and enjoy the game tonight.
You too. Thanks, Cory.
Ed Klajman is a freelance sports reporter. Well, the posts we encounter on social media can exert a lot of influence for many of us on matters large and small. For instance, people commonly scroll for health tips on TikTok. That trend has prompted CBC's Marketplace to take a closer look at a concerning situation. Misinformation about medical conditions that is spreading fast, conveyed through personal stories that can sound convincing, but it's misinformation just the same. Co-host Asha Tomlinson joins us now to break down Marketplace's latest investigation. Hello there, Asha.
Hi, Cory.
So, Asha, why did you focus on TikTok in particular?
Well, there are a couple of reasons. It's the fastest growing social media platform. Millions of us use it every day. Though experts are warning, look, the spread of misinformation is getting worse on the app, that there are a lot of unproven treatments, therapies, and cures that people are scrolling through, they're trusting, and they're trying it out in their personal lives. When you think of the format of TikTok, many of the videos that get the most traction are grounded in compelling testimonials and anecdotes. Basically, the idea is if it worked for me, it can work for you. Sometimes even these influencers sell products to us. But lastly, I think TikTok has one of the strongest algorithms. So they're serving you similar content once you've searched for a particular topic. And many people will notice you start getting more of the same videos, right? And it just becomes easier to believe what you see.
So then how did you set up your test exactly, and what did you find?
We searched two popular health topics, autism and cancer. Our team then analyzed 200 TikTok videos served up to us featuring a cure or a treatment for them. And we found that 80% of the remedies, that's totaling more than 75 million views, were not supported by scientific evidence. In fact, some were outright dangerous, according to our experts. And when you break the results of our test down even further, that's around 8 out of 10 videos that we watched, right, on these two topics, and they were rife with misinformation.
So let's unpack some of these videos a little bit. So just unpack what you found regarding, these TikTok videos surrounding cancer.
Yeah, one example I want to tell you about. So it's a bit of a celebrity endorsement. I mean, there's this popular video. It's actually a clip of actor Mel Gibson on Joe Rogan's podcast earlier this year. He is touting the anti-parasitic drug ivermectin and a dog dewormer, fembendazole, as treatments for cancer. He says all three of his friends had stage 4 cancer, and all three of them are now cancer-free after exploring these alleged treatments. We showed this video to an oncologist from Princess Margaret Hospital, Dr. Abha Gupta. She was stunned by this, and here's what she had to say.
Complete garbage. If we truly thought that any of these agents had any merit, we would be doing clinical trials in them. We would be actually investigating them. But there is no merit.
No merit. And some of the accounts as well discredit conventional treatment and tell cancer patients to stop with that. When we reached out for comment, though, from Mel Gibson, he gave us what he called a polite pass on our request.
And tell us about the misinformation you found on TikTok involving autism.
Well, there's a myth that's been disproven many times over that excess heavy metals is what causes autism. So there is a video in particular that has almost 800,000 views posted by a chiropractor pushing chelation therapy for autism. It's an IV treatment that removes heavy metals from the body. So we showed this video to autism researcher and pediatrician, Dr. Melanie Penner. Here's her take on it. So, chelation therapy. Any evidence it works?
No. There's no evidence that chelation therapy works. There is a risk of death that comes with these treatments. We absolutely recommend against these treatments. It makes me really concerned that so many people are hearing a bold, incorrect, and dangerous claim like that.
We reached out to the chiropractor in the video, but got no response back. I think, though, when you look at the vulnerability piece here, when people are searching for answers for something that will help their situation, this shows that there are potentially deadly consequences. So, the consequences go far beyond just some bad advice online.
So what about TikTok, though? How did TikTok respond to your investigation?
No one from TikTok would do an on-camera interview or speak directly to our findings. They tell us in an email that they take action when content violates their guidelines. When users, they say, search for cures or symptoms, a notice pops up reminding them not to use the platform for medical advice. And after we reach out to them, most of the videos in our story have been taken down. I think the key takeaway, though, for many of us is if you have a doctor or, you have a healthcare professional that you can see, get medical advice from them, get second or third opinions if you need to, but do not trust TikTok. It is there just for entertainment purposes.
Well, Asha, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Asha Tomlinson is a host with CBC Marketplace. For the full investigation, you can watch the show tonight at 8 p.m. Well, as you've been hearing in the news, police have charged 3 teen girls after 2 separate alleged assaults on students at Oak Park High School. This may have some parents wondering about their own kids and what they're experiencing at school. As kids get older, it can sometimes be hard for parents to know what they're up to and what they may be going through, especially if they're being bullied. And often the person best suited to answer those questions are their teachers, since they do spend a lot of time together. That's something Tara Hodgson, a junior high teacher in Alberta, has also noticed, which is why she embarked on a journey to write about the issues teens struggle with by using her students' experiences. Her second novel, At Least I'm Trying, came out last week, and she joins us now on Zoom. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. So I just want to start with your reaction here. When you hear about these 3 girls charged for 2 alleged assaults against fellow female students, what goes through your mind?
It's actually terrifying because I think of young people, like what is making you that angry or that, violent towards your peers? Like what is going on that you feel you need to physically hurt somebody? It's very terrifying.
And based on your experience in schools, what are you hearing from your students when it comes to bullying and the types of environments or surroundings that lead them to bully other kids?
Yeah, so from my experience, what has kind of prompted me to write the books that I'm writing is it's more happening in the digital space now, which, yes, nobody's getting physically hurt, but the mental anguish, the internal pain is very, very real. And kids are struggling in that sense. And what's scary about that, and this is not just a teen issue, anybody who's behind a screen feels a lot more brave than they are potentially face to face. So even kids who typically wouldn't be a bully or typically wouldn't say these things are, because they're protected, as you could say, by their screens. So we're seeing that a lot in schools.
And are you seeing those move from online into the school world, like into the school itself physically? And does it ever lead to physical violence? Is there a bit of a pipeline there from what happens, say, on Instagram or something like that to violence? Have you noticed that?
Not much. It has happened. Thankfully, I live in a very small rural community, so we haven't had a lot of that. We have had one severe instance where it moved from online. I think that's where things kind of started and ramped up, and then other people got involved, and then it led to a physical altercation, which was very serious. But we do just see kind of the trickle effect of the online bullying coming into the classroom because it happened at 2 a.m. on Snapchat or on TikTok, and now we're seeing it at school because these kids are exhausted. We have other kids who saw the screenshots and they're getting involved. And so now as a classroom teacher, you're dealing with this repercussion of what happened at 2 a.m. the night before.
And of course, just to be clear, we're in this Oak Park, with this Oak Park incident here that we're hearing about. We don't know the ins and outs of whether it's connected to online behavior or not. We just know about the assault charges itself. But in terms of just bullying, what has it gotten worse in your school, at least? Over the years, have you noticed, how it's changed? Say since the pandemic.
Yeah, again, I think the way it's gotten worse is that I think back to when I was a kid, if you had a bad day at school or somebody was treating you poorly, you go home and you can like escape. You're not still dealing with it. You can just be happy. You can find some joy after a terrible day. But now kids never get the opportunity to escape because it follows them through their back pocket on their phone. So it just keeps going, 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 going. And that has really amplified things. And then also, again, like I said, through the screen, the things that people say. So you hear a lot of stories of kids saying, you should kill yourself, on TikTok the night before. And then you have somebody who's already struggling and they're hearing things like that. That's obviously going to have a severe effect on their mental health now, which since the pandemic, I've seen an insane increase in mental health issues with teens for sure.
So seeing this in your school has led you to actually start writing about it in the form of novels. Why did you decide to turn this into I guess in this real world experience into fiction?
Yeah, I guess because all of these things I've seen since especially COVID, I felt kind of helpless on how to talk about it or how to increase awareness. And I've always been really passionate about online behavior and how it's affecting kids. I've been teaching junior high for 17 years. So reflecting on when I began teaching these issues, sure, you still have the bullying issues, you still have the mental health issues, but the prevalence was nowhere near what it is today. So I've been reflecting, like, what is it? And it really comes down to the increase in tech and how, especially since COVID, we kind of pushed kids onto more tech. And I needed a way to talk about it. And so my first novel, Chasing Through Time, this story just like popped into my head and I could not keep it in. It literally was out of like written, completed in 6 months. And I loved it. I loved the response I got. I loved that I was able to communicate what I'm seeing and trigger some hopefully important conversations.
And since your books have come out, particularly your book about bullying, your first one,
Mhm.
what's the response been? How has that helped students process it or address it in their schools? Have you heard any stories?
Yeah, so the book was initially, so Chasing Through Time is my first book. It was initially made for teens, but I've actually was super surprised that adults resonated with it a lot. So I think I had a lot of moms, especially, just kind of reaching out. They didn't realize, what types of things were happening behind screens and how it was affecting kids' mental health. And I did have one student in particular say that she was really struggling with her mental health and just reading the journey of the character Emma and seeing what she went through, which was very challenging, and seeing that she was able to make her way through it. That was very helpful for that particular reader. And that's kind of my goal is to show these like very challenging and real situations that kids are going through. And even, when you're a kid, everything is all encompassing. What is happening in that moment is everything entirely. It doesn't feel like you're ever going to get out of it, but my characters, you kind of see them work through it. And even though things aren't perfect at the end, there's hope and it is improving. And so that's what she said she really took away from that.
Hmm. And for yourself as a teacher, how tricky is it when you kind of see maybe signs of potential bullying happening in the hallways in your classroom? You have those conversations with students. Uh, how do you toe that line between making sure you address it, you talk to them, but still making sure they feel safe and comfortable and not, I guess, prying too much into their lives, but making sure they're safe in schools.
Yeah, so with teens especially, I feel like you have to withhold judgment at all times. So even though inside you might be like, "What? What are you doing? Why did you do this?" As soon as you show judgment, you'll lose them. And I think as a parent myself, that's a lesson that I'm going to carry with me as my children enter adolescence, and making connections. So I'm not everybody's connection, but I do connect with as many kids as possible so I can be a safe space for them to talk. But as a school teacher, we're also really limited because we can do everything we can at school. I connect with kids, I talk with them, I ask them questions, which is, why I get so many of the stories that I do because they tell me what's going on. As soon as they go home, if they don't have that, then it's really tricky. So I think what I want, parents to get from these books is that we have to consistently keep communication open. We have to have these difficult conversations, and yeah, withhold your judgment, even though inside you're screaming, hold that back and judge them later in private. But constant communication, even when things are really hard to talk about.
Well, Tara, thanks for your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
That's Tara Hodgson. She's a junior high teacher in Alberta. Her latest book is called At Least I'm Trying. We want to hear from you. Are you a teacher? Are you a student? Are you a parent? What are your concerns about bullying in Manitoba schools? What are you seeing done? What would you like to see done? What are you hearing? You can give us a call on our CBC listener line, 204-788-3205. That's 204-788-3205. It's a question almost every teenager dreads. What do you want to do after you graduate high school? With a world full of possibilities, it can be hard to narrow it down. But the University of Manitoba hopes its latest event will help at least a little bit. On Tuesday, it'll be inviting high schoolers and their parents to an open house. And Lisa Kalchulak Babby is a director of student recruitment at the University of Manitoba. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
So tell us more about the follow-up and host this year. What can people expect?
It's a really great event. In fact, it's probably one of my favorite events of the year. It's an opportunity for prospective students, parents, supporters, and friends to come on out to the University of Manitoba, see our beautiful campus, but most importantly, speak to all of the people that they would need to in order to make a really good decision about what do you want to study, how do you study, what are the supports and services in place, and how do you even get that application in. So it really walks the students through the admission process and gives them an opportunity to feel like, okay, I know what I need to do for my next step and how do I get there?
What's the atmosphere usually like at these kind of events? Is it nervous or like what's the vibes?
There's a little bit of an excitement. This is a really great opportunity at this time of year to sort of get all your ducks in a row. Students are, not necessarily knowing what to expect. It really depends. I mean, some of the students who come, they have siblings and their parents went through U of M. They have a little bit of an understanding. And on the other side, there's students whose parents maybe didn't go, or they don't have siblings, or they're the first in their family, or maybe they're new to Canada. So they really have a lot of questions, and we're there to help all of them.
And what are some of the main questions that students and their parents often have when they come by?
Yeah, I think there's three top questions. One would be, what programs are there and what can I study? How do I apply? And how much is it all going to cost? And are there supports for that? And, especially the program is really the first one. What is the programs? What can I study? And I think, as a high school student, you're taking a limited amount of courses in high school. A high school student has never taken a linguistics course, for example, or maybe they haven't taken a statistics course. There's so many offerings. I mean, we have over 100 programs at U Manitoba. How do you know which one's for you? Well, you explore and try and figure that out. And we're there to answer those questions and have students available. Some professors are there. So students can really understand what a day in the life of a student is like. What does a classroom look like? And of course, with the professors there, what research is available if that's something they're interested in as well.
I know fall is probably like almost might even seem early to some people to start thinking about it, but I guess maybe not. I also know along with this, there's actually early applications that the university does. So what's the benefits of applying early to U of M?
Yeah, we're very excited this year. We have a new application draw for students. We have 10 prizes, 5 for international students, 5 for domestic students. So if you apply early, your name will automatically be entered into that draw for $5,000 tuition prize. So this is a really great opportunity to get that application in. I think that's probably number one, a really great reason to apply early. The second reason is getting an offer sooner. We definitely know that students have a busy year in grade 12 and they're curious. They want to know what's going to happen. Am I going to get in? These are the kinds of things that we're able to provide a little bit earlier for those who apply early. And on top of that as well, all students who apply by March 1st, which is our general deadline in Manitoba, all of your documents, everything comes directly from the school if you apply early. So it just makes it so easy for the students. Get it off of your plate. Don't worry about your application. We do most of the work from our end, and your schools send us all of your high schools send us all of your transcripts. So all you have to do is do that application online. It takes about 30 minutes. It's really quite easy, and it's mostly just your demographic information, your last name, your first name, where do you go to school, what do you think your grades are going to be this year, and as well as, just your address and information. So easy peasy, get that in, and there's definitely a lot of benefits to doing that. So you could just focus on grade 12, enjoy your final year, and then, of course, enjoy your graduation ceremonies. That really will come before you even know it.
And before I let you go, if people want to come to the open house, what do they need to know?
Yeah, you can register online. If you forget to register, of course, we'd love to know that you're coming, but please do feel free to stop by. We're at University Center. Parking is available in the queue lot. We're going to have lots and lots and lots of signage, so you don't have to worry about where you need to go. We welcome all students, parents, supporters, and anyone who's interested in coming. And I do want to mention as well that, of course, most of the students joining us are coming from high school, but if you are a student maybe who hasn't been in school for a while, or maybe you're a transfer student, or maybe you're a supporter and you know somebody who's thinking of moving back to Manitoba or moving to Manitoba for the first time, everybody is welcome if they're in town. For those not in town, we also have an online on November the 12th. So we have an online open house for those who can't visit us in person.
Well, Lisa, thanks so much and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Lisa Kalchulak Babby with the U of M. The fall open house takes place on Tuesday from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the UMSU University Centre. And according to Statistics Canada, 86% of sandwich caregivers said that their care responsibilities affected at least one aspect of their health and well-being. And today we wanted to see how seniors feel about the issue. Connie Newman is the executive director of the Manitoba Association of Seniors. I spoke with her yesterday after the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what goes through your mind when you hear stories about Gen Xers who are taking care of their parents and their own kids at the same time?
First thing that comes to my mind is this has been around for 70 years. I can recall with my own parents and my maternal grandparents, the sandwich generation. My parents were looking after my brother and I. My mom and dad both had 4 siblings, each give or take, and we all lived in the same area of the province. And so the caregiving for my maternal grandparents rested with my mom. My paternal grandparents, one of my dad's siblings, they were living in the same house. So the whole idea of sandwich generation is not new. What is new is our demographics have changed. We are in a society today of single parents, blended families. Some children have 4 sets of grandparents. So all of that fits the sandwich generation. The other thing that's happened in demographic-wise, both parents are working, so that both parents, when one of their parents becomes ill or needs caregiving, you've got the sandwich generation going on. And we really need to look at how we survive as being part of a sandwich generation. It's not new. It's just demographics have changed. The other thing that's happening, a lot of our multicultural families, or families from different cultures, I know today there are 3 or 4 generations living in one house. So it goes back to my grandparents were living on the same street, 6 houses away. So caregiving and sandwich generation is not new. What's new is we're working 18-hour days. We're looking after children, taking children to hockey, soccer, all of those kinds of things. When I grew up, we went to a local community club on our own. We can't get there on our own now for safety reasons generally. So we really need to look at the sandwich generation needs to figure out how they take care of themselves so they can take care of the young ones and the older ones.
So for yourself, you have kids yourself, is that right?
I have a daughter that's 52.
Okay, and what kind of conversations have you had with your daughter about, maybe as you grow older, may need more care? What her responsibility is in that? Is that something she's broached with you or you've broached with her? How have you been navigating that?
She is now living with me because of situations. She's got a full-time job. She's got a very good job. But she watches me because I'm now caregiving for two people out in the community. 5-6 years ago, I was caring for two other people. So she's watched me on a daily basis take care of those people's needs until their end comes. She knows what I want. She knows I've talked to her about this, where I want to be. I've put money aside so the insurance policy so that I can buy my own caregiving, or she can buy my caregiving for me to remain at home. And it's important that all the listeners have those conversations now when we're healthy, because we are going to not be healthy one day.
And how often? It sounds like you've had a lot of put a lot of thought into it. And you've had those conversations. When you talk to other seniors, are other seniors having those conversations too, or are a lot of people putting that off? Because it is a sensitive topic for a lot of people, for sure.
In fact, in the last couple of days, I've talked to two different older adults, and they're scared. They're really scared because they're in a position where their family's not here. Their family, which is another, families living not in the same neighborhood, not even in the same province. So who do they go to, or who is their power of attorney, and where do you need help? And that's an important conversation for all older adults to have. Who's their power of attorney? Who's the person that's going to make the decisions for them?
What's your advice to people who are navigating that right now? Because it might feel like a bit of a game of chicken for people, for the children of the aging parent and the parent themselves. Who broaches the conversation? Maybe this is a deep philosophical question, but whose responsibility is it to bring that up and say, hey, here's how you need, here's how care should take place?
My immediate thought, it's me. It's the older adult. What happens is we leave it too long. I'm a real proponent of I make my decisions for my body in healthcare, in activity, in taking care of me. What is happening out there, people are not having those conversations till an event happens. And then you're caught between a rock and a hard place. So, and families are not large entities anymore. There's 2 or 3 people in a family. And pick your favorite family person that you can have a conversation with. Go to the coffee shop or go someplace where you can have a private conversation of sorts. Talk. And what we don't do today is we don't talk. I've had those conversations with my daughter. Everybody needs to do it. It's my body. It's my decision. I need to initiate the conversation. And hopefully all the listeners have that person they can initiate the conversation with. And it starts with who's your power of attorney. Because what I see happening out there, too many people wait till the event happens. And we've got people in hospital beds right now that they didn't have that conversation.
Another big thing is that there's a big societal factor to this too. It's not necessarily just between the parent and the kid. There's a lot of boomers, outsized amount of boomers that are starting to age.
Yep.
And that leaves that smaller Gen X generation, puts a lot of extra pressure maybe than it did 70 years ago, as you mentioned, right? So when, maybe there's policymakers, people who make decisions for hospitals, things like that, when they're thinking about how best to accommodate this, people as they age. What do you think needs to happen in the coming years?
I would say it needs to happen right now. The boomer generation is here. The silver tsunami is here. We knew 15 years ago we were going to get caught in whatever we call it today. And policymakers, government, labor, unions, anybody dealing in human resources has to take a look at that person that is a caregiver. First question is, all your staff, do you know if anybody's in a sandwich generation? I mean, we're all as we grow up, if we've got kids, we're caregivers. You become part of the sandwich generation when a parent then needs your help. People in the hiring position need to be flexible, need to allow for doctor's appointments, those kinds of things. Does everybody have to work their fair share of hours? Absolutely. But you need to provide opportunities for flex hours or makeup time so that you are working for X number of hours, whatever it is. But to me, flexible hours right across all sectors, healthcare, government, all of them need to create human resource policies that allow for flex time.
Well, Connie, thanks for your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was good to be here.
That's Connie Newman. She's Executive Director of the Manitoba Association of Seniors. I spoke with her yesterday. And if you are part of the sandwich generation, if you are someone who is caring for an aging parent, or if you are an aging parent who is wondering about how will I get cared for, maybe you don't have someone to care for you and you're wondering what to do, we want to hear from you. Give us a call. You can leave it on our listen line, 204-788-3205. That's 204-788-3205. You can also email us at radio893@cbc.ca. The price of gold and silver reached an all-time high this month. Gold reached more than $4,000 US per troy ounce. That's the measurement used when weighing precious metals. And silver went above $50 US. And despite the high price, demand for these precious metals has been up, with more people looking to buy coins and bars. And Jasmine Allen is vice president of Gate West Coin in Winnipeg, which specializes in buying and selling coins. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So what have you been seeing lately at your shop when it comes to people wanting to buy?
Definitely a lot of interest lately. There's been huge lineups every day with people looking to purchase gold and silver. Gold certainly had a lot of interest this past week because of Diwali, and silver has continuously had higher interest than usual.
And so did it always peak around this time of year for Diwali?
Diwali, yes, we do get quite the peak for gold interest, yes.
And you think that when the prices are high, maybe people might sometimes maybe the instinct you'd think maybe might even be to hold off, maybe because maybe they want to wait till maybe it dips or something. Well, why are you hearing from people about why they're coming to buy now? Is the expectation that it's only going to keep going up and up and up?
We do have some people that expect it to continue going up. There are certainly some people that like to hold off and wait for the price to drop. There is certainly a lot of volatility in the markets right now, so we're seeing huge ups, huge downs, much more than we usually do in normal markets. So there's certainly something for everybody, for buyers that like to wait to see a dip. That has been happening. But gold specifically lately has been up 53% just this year.
And what do you know about why it's seeing such a rise right now?
There's so much that affects precious metals. A lot of it has to do with stock markets, political volatility. Our friend Trump to the south here is certainly a large factor as well.
So is it the more essentially like the kind of the basic kind of rules, the more volatile things are, actually the higher precious metals gets? Is that why? Because it's seen as more of a stable investment? Is that the kind of rough kind of concept?
Yes, generally when there's instability in stock markets or in political environments, people do tend to gravitate towards gold and silver and precious metals for stability.
And when is the last time you've seen this kind of demand? Is this unprecedented for you, or did you see this? When is the last time it's been like this for you?
We did see quite a silver and gold run during the COVID period. There was quite a shortage of precious metals during that time. We're seeing another shortage now.
And there's something called a short right now. Can you explain what that means and how that might impact the price?
Generally, when products are more difficult to get, you will see demand increase because there's more media attention around it. We get a lot more attention in people purchasing precious metals, and then prices generally will go up in response to there being more demand than there is supply.
So what does that mean in terms of people wanting to sell? Like, how many people are coming in to sell their stuff right now?
We're certainly getting a lot of people coming in to sell as well. Generally speaking, we're seeing more people selling off their scrap silver and scrap gold jewelry, coins, and whatnot than we are seeing people selling bullion. But we do get a lot of people coming in to sell their bullion, their investment, the pure metals as well.
And it's a lot of people just rings and things like that. I mean, like what? I mean, and maybe it's I'm guessing it's a range. But if someone comes in with a kind of a gold classic, just maybe a gold band, what is that kind of netting them these days?
It's really hard to say because rings can vary so much. It depends on the carat of the piece that you have. It depends on the weight. But we can have, a single ring piece varying from something that is very small and thin, which is maybe $60 in value, to something that is large, thick. That can be several $100s, $500, $600, $700.
So there's no way to predict obviously what could happen in the future with prices. But what have you been hearing about where the prices are going to be heading in the next weeks and months?
It's very hard to predict. We have been hearing both ways. Some people's opinion is that this bubble is going to pop and prices are going to reduce to what we've seen maybe in the previous years. We've had other people saying they can see silver going up to $100 or $200 US an ounce within the next year. Within weeks and months, it is completely impossible to predict where it's going to go.
Before I let you go here, I mean, for yourself, what got you into the gold and silver precious metals business? Why do you do what you do?
Well, I do what I do because we have a charity that's associated with Gate West here, and all of our profits go towards Manitoba charities. I originally got into the business actually because my husband was working with Gate West, and I started here back in 2012, and I never left.
Well, thanks for taking some time to kind of break this down for us and how it's all working. Really appreciate your time, Jasmine.
Thank you.
That's Jasmine Allen. She's vice president of Gate West.